Coming to you from the homes of the Troy TrojanVision news staff, this is Troy TrojanVision News, Social Distancing Edition.
Hello and welcome to a special social distancing edition of Troy TrojanVision News. I'm the TrojanVision Student News Director, Brady Talbert. When it was first announced that Troy University was moving to alternative teaching and online learning for the rest of the spring semester due to the coronavirus, the crew of TrojanVision thought we were done as well. Due to social distancing, we could not get into our studio to produce our daily television newscast for viewers like you. However, technology finds a way, and our news staff has been working from their homes and apartments to provide you with a look at how Troy University is dealing with and adapting to the world of social distancing. We start things off by talking to some Troy University students who have obviously had their learning environments completely turned upside down during this time of coronavirus-induced self-isolation.
Doing just as high quality job online right now as I would be doing face-to-face.
It's a new normal for Troy University students as they adjust to class lectures over webcam, following the university's March 31st decision to move all coursework online due to the spread of the coronavirus in Alabama. Sophomore nursing major Reed Reddish says the switch has been tricky at times.
We aren't allowed to access the lab to practice skills, and we won't always have all the tools that we need to practice those skills at home.
The coronavirus is bringing classrooms to homes across the U.S. Online learning means that dining room tables like this one are being converted into desk space for many, and students are having to adjust in order to stay ahead. Students have been watching their teachers live over Zoom as well as using Canvas to turn in coursework.
We just get online assignments from our professors, and they're doing a really good job of communicating with all of us because they know that this is a weird transition time.
Some students say the best way to stay afloat is to get organized.
Write down your assignments and schedule in your assignments ahead of time so that you can complete them before the due date. I always keep my calendar and my planner on my desk when I'm completing an assignment so that I know when it's due.
Others say it's about time management.
I may do 30 minutes of work with no distractions and then 10 minutes of rest, just getting away from the computer screen for a while. It's one thing that helps me.
In addition to this semester, the university says classes will remain online this summer. The coronavirus has taken its toll on our healthcare system, and the desire to help those in need led Troy University to holding a blood drive to ensure that Trojans can do their part to help out. Allison Polk shows us how.
The American Red Cross is in desperate need for blood donations as many blood drives around the country have been canceled due to the coronavirus outbreak. That is why Troy University decided to keep their scheduled blood drive on March 24th and March 25th to help with the severe shortage.
This blood drive was planned for Greek Week, and we were hoping that students would be able to come back from spring break and those 2 days and be able to give blood. And usually those are huge blood drives. And once we realized that the students were not coming back, we wanted to cancel the blood drive. Well, when we did, the American Red Cross said, we are having hundreds and hundreds of blood drives canceled, and this blood is so important for the blood supply, because if they have blood drives canceled, then the blood drive supply for the nation gets very low, and that's very, very dangerous.
We have lost a total over 3,000 units in our area. The state of Alabama, we've lost a lot of blood drives. We lost a lot of high schools and also a lot of universities. And with that being said, we collect a lot of blood from high schools and universities.
In an effort to get blood donations, all Troy faculty and students were sent an email with information on the blood drive held on campus. The email encouraged those to come out and donate to help with the severe blood shortage.
I am O positive. And so I get emails all the time about them needing people to donate. And I was in Troy still, and I was like, well, why can't I just take 30 minutes out of my day to go give blood and maybe help somebody else out? Like, I've always known that giving blood is really important, but even more so now because a lot of them have been canceled, blood drives have been canceled, and also like people are still needing blood.
I've been feeling kind of useless with being stuck at home, and this is a great way to help people. And I've always loved being able to come and give blood.
The American Red Cross team was only expecting around 70 participants at this blood drive, but according to Patterson, around 90 people came out to help and donated blood. Allison Polk, Troy TrojanVision News.
The need to feed the hungry has become more prevalent during this time of crisis, with many people struggling to make ends meet due to closures. Every spring, Troy students usually collect canned goods for the annual Can Castle competition between student organizations. But with the cancellation of classes, that contest couldn't happen. Even though the can building couldn't happen, the food drive portion is still on. Carissa Justice has more on the collection effort.
Thanks, Brady. So I'm Carissa Justice, and joining me here today is Lauren Cochran. She is the coordinator of the Office of Civic Engagement here at Troy University. And today we will be discussing the Can Castle contest. So thank you, Lauren, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So if you would just start off by telling us, historically, what is the Can Castle contest?
Yes, this is our 9th year of having the Can Castle contest, and it was originally started to address food insecurity in our community. Pike County residents, 25% of Pike County residents fall below the poverty line, and we know that that directly correlates to the amount of food insecurity that that we see in local citizens. So this was originally created with that in mind, and it's a way that students can get together and address a community need while also building some community spirit here on campus. And each year this generates over 5,000 items of food that is donated. Then on the particular day that we host the contest, they come in trucks and cars and boxes and laundry baskets loaded down with food items, and they all separate into their particular organization and work together with a few of their members to create the best Can Castle contest design. So we've really seen some incredible creativity in the designs throughout the years.
And obviously, with everything that's happening with the coronavirus, we can't have the traditional Can Castle contest this year. So what is being done this year in place of the Can Castle contest?
Yeah, we're really missing being together this year. This is one of our most favorite events of the year. We, pack out the Barnes and Noble patio, and students just have the best time building their con event every year. And so we really are missing being with students in that way. However, we didn't want to miss out on the opportunity to still address this need in our community and still give students and really everyone the opportunity to participate. Not only are we limiting this year to student organizations, we are opening it up to everyone in the Trojan family and anyone who would like to donate and help in this way. And so we are hosting an online donation platform, and anyone who would like to participate in the Can Castle this year can go to troy.edu/cancastle, and they can make a donation. And just like always with the Can Castle, every donation that's accepted redistributed to those in our community who do battle food insecurity.
And so this is obviously one of the biggest fundraisers for the food bank, and that is why it is so significant. How many cans did you say this usually gets every year?
But we normally collect well over 5,000 items. This really supports our food insecurity initiatives for several months throughout the year, probably 6 to 9 months of the year. And so we really don't want to miss out on this opportunity to still be able to address this need here in our community. So yeah, it is very important because we are missing the chance to have the physical donations this year of food. So we are really hoping that everybody will take advantage of this opportunity to give a little and help us continue to address this need here in Troy.
And one last time, would you tell us how anybody who wants to donate can do so?
Yeah, anybody who would like to participate in the Can Castle contest this year can go to troy.edu/cancastle, and they can make a donation towards these food insecurity initiatives.
So a wonderful cause, obviously, to help support food insecurity right here in our local community. Lauren, I want to thank you for joining me here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, now back to you, Brady.
And helping those in need continues through the use of 3D printing technology, as a Troy University art professor enlisted the help of Trojans with 3D printers to produce personal protective equipment to help in the shortage of supplies. Sam Granville spoke with a professor heading up the effort and a student helping in the cause.
Thank you, Brady. And thank you for joining us, Professor Noriega, the Professor of Graphic Design and Director of Design. And I'm also joined with senior student David Cole Sanders, a graphic design major. Once again, thank you guys for joining us. We're here speaking about the topic of 3D printing PPE. Professor Noriega, can you explain that to us?
Yes, thank you for having us. We really appreciate your initiative to be able to help us out with this endeavor. What we are doing is we are involved in a multidiscipline collaboration involving a number of people, so it's not just coming out of one department or one college. We are looking for people that have 3D printers to help provide, to help us print personal protective equipment for first responders and essential workers in our community. At the moment, we have 9 different people printing. They have their own printers. Many of the printers that we are using have actually come from the library through a generous a generous lending from Dr. Schaefer, who is the Dean of Library Services. He allowed us to be able to check out the 3D printers that he had in the library, along with all of the filament, the PLA that he had in his inventory. And we're currently using Troy equipment and Troy filament to be able to make shields and to make other instruments that could be used during this pandemic. David is a student of mine. He took an independent study course with me several years ago on 3D printing and working with 3D software. But David, why don't you explain a little bit about what you've been doing and what we've been doing?
Behind me here are two of the 3D printers provided to me by the library at Troy University. If you can see here, they're currently printing right now. One's printing parts for a mask, and the other one a part for the face shield. And the face shield we don't print the actual shield itself. We have to put those together. But yeah, these take anywhere from 2 to 3 hours to print. The masks take longer, 3.5 to 4 hours, but the face shields are fairly quick at 2 hours. And with both of these going, I can print 2 every 2 hours, so 1 an hour. And yeah, we're just really glad to have help from the other members of the group. Their roles are just important as mine. And here's one of the prints that we have. And this is a recent one. We just found it online. You can find things like this at Thingiverse. I think there's like a hashtag you search. It's called no touch things. There's these that you can open, that people use to open doors if you don't want to like actually touch the door with your hand. And here's a mask that I've already assembled. It's got a cap on it. And inside here, many people are putting different sorts of filaments, preferably use like N95 filament. This is from this filament here is from a vacuum bag, which is known to be pretty useful. And there's also these that we're printing, and they're ear guards. So the nurses that are wearing the surgical masks that are pulling on their ears, they relieve some of that pain.
Well, yes, that of course, very helpful. They're just an awesome project that you guys are working on all together. Again, I don't know if you mentioned, can you say how many that you've made so far, how many that you guys have distributed, and what that process is kind of looking like so far?
Our first shipment, our first inventory was left last week with the fire department in Troy. We're working with our conduit the person we're working with is a woman by the name of Amy Drinkard, and she has been coordinating with first responders and with essential workers through the fire department. Last week, I believe we provided them with 40 shields and several masks and components that David just showed you. This week, we've been mandated to come up with at least 100 shields, which is why we're printing now, which is also why we are desperately looking for more people to help us print, people with printers and people that have the capacity to be able to print at home. This is essential right now. We don't know when this work will be over. We assume it'll be over when the threat of this pandemic is over and when the need for these supplies have been fulfilled. But at the moment, we're planning on ramping up our production. And I should point out that the production of these units is painfully slow. As David mentioned, it takes several hours just to produce one unit. And so our printers are pretty much going 24/7. And if anything, we are appealing to the community to please, if you know somebody that has a 3D printer and is able to print, please contact me and we will absolutely be able to use your printer and your skill set that you have.
Yes, sir. Well, once again, thank you guys both for joining us. And we're going to go ahead and send it back to you, Brady.
In order to ensure safety, it became evident early on that during this crisis, some social and extracurricular activities would have to be sacrificed. And that became evident when the NCAA decided to cancel student athletics for the spring. Jessica Phillips spoke with Troy University Director of Athletics Brent Jones about the cancellation and what it means for student sports.
Thanks, Brady. I'm Jessica Phillips, and joining us today is Brent Jones, Troy University's Athletic Director, and we'll be discussing how the NCAA is being affected by the coronavirus. How are you doing, Mr. Brent Jones?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And how has Troy Athletics transitioned into what some say is the new way of living as of now?
Well, I'll tell you this. This is going on about week 5 for us right now. It's the most unprecedented, unpredictable time in American society, not just sports. So let me say this, but I know this is going to be about sports and Troy University athletics, but I would like to say, our hearts and minds are with everyone who's going through the coronavirus. At this point, over 10,000 deaths have occurred in the United States of America. That is not to be taken lightly. And with that, while we want to get back to a semblance of normalcy for the entire society, and that involves getting back to playing sports and having fans inside the arenas, inside the football stadium, baseball as part of it. But I will tell you this, sports fans, just like student athletes, just like coaches, just like students, we strive to come back and be able to embrace one another, to be able to show that Trojan spirit that we talk about. And I will tell you this, it's been tough for a lot of our coaches, our staff, our student athletes. They've been away from each other for the last 5 weeks now. A lot of them had their 12 sports had their seasons cut short on the middle of it, starting with our women's basketball program, who finished first in the regular season. And so just going through that is enough to be able to say, hey, you're ending your season now, to then go to an online distribution, which is what everybody's doing from education, to then doing the social distancing, to then living in fear of the coronavirus. That's something that's really tough.
Yeah, speaking on the women's basketball team, I actually headed going to the game to cover the game in New Orleans when I received the news that the tournament has been canceled. And I haven't got the chance to talk to Coach Rigby or any of the other coaches or the players, but how did the women's basketball team take the news of first the Sun Belt Championship being canceled and then later the NCAA March Madness tournament being canceled?
Well, yeah, and I think those are two different things, and I appreciate you bringing that up because by us finishing the regular season first, we were the number 1 seed in the conference championship tournament. And so the way that it is, we got a triple bye all the way to Saturday. So we were literally about to leave on that Friday, headed to New Orleans, and we're not able to make it. I had to make the call and tell them to stand down, and we weren't able to go. And the reason for that is in about 30 minutes, the Sun Belt Conference was going to cancel their tournament. Looking back on it, we didn't know if it was going to be 2 days, 3 days, let alone 5 weeks now. You just did not know. And so we were very excited because if the tournament's canceled and the NCAA is being held, then that means that we're going to be able to make it. That was the hope. And if we didn't, even having an at-large bid was a possibility, having a top 40 team. But we'll never know because there was not a women's basketball tournament team or tournament held. And so we weren't able to. But this is one of the best seasons we've ever had. We had 5 seniors off that team that put in at least 2 years, upwards of 4 years, to pour their heart and soul into it. Can't say enough about what they did. A 25-4 record with only 2 losses to 2 Power 5 teams. Oh, by the way, that's Duke and Mississippi State that everybody knows about.
Exactly.
And those are tournament teams as well. What Shanda Rigby, our head women's basketball coach, has done is simply outstanding. I think she is the best women's basketball coach out there in what she's done. 3 out of the last 5 years being in position to postseason play, or 4 out of the last 5 years now, simply outstanding.
Yes, and what has been some of the moves from those other coaches who also coach in the spring, especially baseball and softball coaches like Beth Mullins and Mark Smart?
Well, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you a story. I had to call Mark Smart and to tell them to come back. They were actually on their way. They were in Phoenix City on the way to Columbus.
That's where I'm from.
Yeah, there you go. So they stopped at Phoenix City and got something to eat, and they're making their way through Columbus town. And I called them. I said, hey, we just canceled the men's and women's basketball tournament. I can't see y'all playing. If it's not safe enough for men's and women's basketball to play indoors, it's not going to be safe enough for y'all. You need to come on back. And so we had that tough conversation, just like I did with Coach Rigby, and we brought them back to town. I will tell you this, just as Coach Rigby has done, all of our coaches, whether that be men's, women's tennis, Beth Mullins softball, Mark Smart, men's and women's golf, as well as Coach Rigby, have handled it with the utmost class, professionalism. It's devastating. So I was a college athlete. I played baseball for 5 years, redshirted for 1. You literally, this team, women's basketball, worked year-round and had the last few games taken from them. And it weren't taken from them by anybody in particular. It is the coronavirus and when it broke. But then you have baseball. You have softball. They work for 10 months of the year in the middle of their seasons to have that taken away. Now, luckily, the spring sports were able to get an additional 5th year, additional year for the seniors, so they're able to come back. However, that's not the case for winter sports, which affects men's and women's basketball as well as gymnastics.
Practices schedules are being impacted tremendously as well, not just the games and everything. What are teams doing and players doing by themselves to stay in shape, to be prepared for when practices and games start back up on campus?
Great question. I will tell you this. We just got off a Zoom call with all our head coaches. I have it once a week. as well as our staff. So I have 2 to 3 Zoom calls every Monday with our staff. And then I'm on conference calls left and right every single day, whether that be Zoom or conference calls 6 or 7. We're asking best practices. What are our people doing? How are they staying involved? I will tell you this, our head coaches, our football, for example, is having a Zoom call 2-3 times a week. Going over different practices, different plays, making sure, again, going back to asking those questions. Are you working out? Are you doing this? There's customizable workouts that our players have. Again, they don't have access to a gym right now. So if you can't do that, but you can still do push-ups, you can still do sit-ups. And I will tell you this, to be a Division I athlete, they are driven to be here, okay? Because who knows, in 30 days, 60 days, whenever this is up, we want our student athletes to come back in the best health and shape they possibly be. So we're giving them all possible options to do, whether that's from what they need to be eating, how they need to be sleeping, as well as working out. Now, all of this is voluntary. This isn't where they're on campus. It's voluntary. But we also think a lot of our student athletes are doing this because they care. They want to be bigger and stronger when we come out of this.
And thank you, Brent, for taking the time out to talk to me about everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now back to you, Brady.
And that wraps things up for this social distancing edition of Troy Trojan Vision News. We hope you enjoyed this look at how the school is adjusting to the challenges we have all been presented. For updates on the coronavirus and Troy University, you can visit troy.edu/coronavirus. We hope you are staying safe and maintaining proper social distance. Thank you so much for joining us.